Hey guys, Will Wild here, and in this video I'm going to talk a bit about different types, different brands and models of harmonicas. A question I often see come up in some of the harp forums, particularly from beginner players, is what harp is best for blues, or what model harp does this guy use or that guy use. And the truth is, it doesn't really matter as long as you've got something that's decent and not like a $5 piece of junk. Although even on a $5 piece of junk, you can still play. So I'm going to go through a bunch of different brands, different models, different price points, so you can hear the difference. So the key thing I would say is if it's a 10-hole diatonic Richter harmonica, they're all basically the same thing. Yes, some are going to be much better than others, but I think some beginners are expecting, one harp compared to another harp to sound like, something completely different. And to most people's ears, it's going to sound the same. To the person playing it, it's going to feel different. One harp might feel horrible and take a lot of effort to play, whereas another harp might play really, really easily. So the harps I play most of the time are Seidel 1847s, sometimes the classic model with the wood comb, sometimes the silver model with the white plastic comb. Again, people ask what's better, the wood comb or the plastic comb. To be quite honest with you, I've been playing a mixture of both for more than 10 years now. I still haven't decided which one I prefer. There's not really any difference as far as I can tell. If you did a blind test, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So here's a Seidel 1847 with a wood comb. This one's in the key of A flat. Here's one with a plastic comb. This one's in A, so obviously it's going to be a semitone higher. But it's the same thing, right? Okay, so let's go to something really cheap, all right? This was one of the first harps I ever bought. It's called Axel Folk Blues, made in China. It says, the sound from Super Power Harmonica. This was, I think I paid about £3.50 for this when I was about 16. So, this is a cheap harp. Okay, so the main thing I'm noticing with this, obviously it's still more or less the same, the same sound, but it's a lot quieter, and it's what you would call a leaky harp. So, it's the air is kind of leaking out in and around the reeds. So, all the effort I'm putting in isn't all going into producing sound, producing volume, and it's some of that effort is getting lost. So it's harder to bend notes. I mean, it's still very possible to bend. And you can probably overblow. Okay, it does just about overblow out of the box as well, But I wouldn't recommend going and getting one of these. Maybe if you just, if you're just starting out and you want to learn. I mean, I learned on this. I think actually by learning on something that's not very good like this, if you get to the point where you can play this, when you then pick up a more expensive harmonica, everything's going to feel really easy. The main downfall with something really cheap like this is, A, they generally don't last very long. And B, when you start trying to play faster, notes start to choke and you start running out of breath. So if I try and play really fast like that, it's not very... it's not very responsive, and the notes start to get lost. It slows you down. Okay, let's go to another harp. So the Special 20 by Hohner, quite a common harp. A nice harp, you know. Let's compare it to the Seidel. I mean, it's basically the same thing. This is a little bit brighter because it's got brass reeds, whereas the Seidel has steel reeds, which isn't quite as bright. Again, once you've put that through an amp and it's EQ'd and that anyway, no one's going to be able to hear the difference. It's all just down to personal preference, what feels best to you, what responds best to your playing. Just checking my audio's recording behind me. All right. Let's go to another brand. So we've got an Easttop here. Kind of budget harps. Ooh, now this one does feel and sound a bit different straight away. So it's got that kind of slight leaky feel to it. Again, the tone is a bit thinner. It's not quite as bad as this one, but it's a little bit more that way. But again, as you can hear, it's not, like a different instrument altogether. It's still a 10-hole Richter harp in the key of C, so basically the same thing. Let's go to another one. This is a Suzuki Manji. This one's in the key of G. Compared to the Seidel. Again, not radically different. The Seidel definitely feels better to me. The Manji feels a little bit leaky, and it's a little bit out of tune there as well, which I can tell you I haven't played this harp very much at all. I've played this one a lot. This one's still in tune. Let's go to the Hohner Blues harp. Now, how many beginners do you know that bought one of these just because it says blues harp on it? It must be good for blues, right? And it is good for blues. It's good for any kind of music, So the names that are given to these harps on the label, it's all just marketing. You can call this a blues harp, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily designed just to play blues on. You could play, any kind of music on it. Country, pop, folk, whatever. So this one's in the key of D. Compared to a Seidel again. To me, the Seidel has a little bit more weight at the bottom end. It just feels a bit more airtight. I'm getting more tone and more volume with less effort. But probably for anyone listening, if I went and played a song at a gig and used this one, and then played the same one on this, no one in the audience is going to be able to tell any difference, I guarantee you. Okay, let's do a couple more. So I've got a Herring here that I bought many years ago. I don't know what happened to Herring. Are they still around? The problem with these harps, they look like they're based on the Marine Band, and they've got this kind of vintage metal effect on them. It might have faded now. but they have this really metallic taste and smell. I think it's like the lacquer that they put on the cover plates. Obviously, F sharp's very high key. Compare that to a Seidel Soloist Pro. This is a brass reed Seidel. Again, not a big difference. I think I prefer the Seidel over the Herring, though. Okay, one more. So this is a custom harp. This was customized by Alexei Kormin, who sets up Seidels for overblows and overdraws. This one's in the key of A. If I compare it to a regular 1847 in A, so this is the custom one. Now, something you may have noticed just there on this one, if I hit that sixth blow or any of the blow notes too hard, they choke. Okay, now this isn't a problem with the harp, but it's because I don't usually play harps that are set up specifically for overblows. The sort of intensity of my breath is too much for this. If I played around with this for 20 minutes or so, I could kind of dial it back and adjust and feel how this responds to the breath a bit more, and then the notes would stop choking. But if you're someone who never plays overblow setup harps, especially if you're got more of an aggressive attack, then when you play a harp like this, you might find that notes choke because the reed gaps are set much lower. But they're set lower for a reason, so that you can overblow more easily. So this overblow is really nice. You can hear it doesn't have any of that horrible kind of squealing sound. You can probably overdraw on it pretty well too. So that's the 7 overdraw, 8 overdraw, and the 9 overdraw. So the regular out-the-box Seidel, they usually overblow pretty well straight out the box, to be honest. That's perfect, and I promise you I've never touched the reeds on this. The overdraws, however, I mean, you can get them all on this. A lot of harps out the box, you just can't hit overdraws at all, I find. But I've never found a harp that can overdraw without that horrible buzzy sound out of the box. So, again, people will buy, like, customized... I'm talking about, like, beginner players will buy expensive customized harps sometimes. And a lot of the time, they might not really be able to tell a lot of difference. Until your playing reaches a certain level, you won't be able to see the benefits of a custom harp. One of the other benefits is, that it's a lot more airtight all round, so... I mean, that sounds pretty much the same, to be fair, but the bends come a little bit easier on custom harps too. Okay, final comparison. I've got a session steel by Seidel with steel reeds, but with a plastic comb. And then an 1847 silver with a solid plastic comb. This one isn't solid, it's more of a flimsy comb when you take it apart. So the reason why I prefer the 1847 to the session steel is because they're just more airtight, more responsive. And as I said, it makes it a bit louder, takes less effort to create volume and to move in and out of bends quickly. So, these are the harps that I like. What you like may well be different. The point of this video really is to show you that all the harps are, kind of the same thing. Some are better than others. You do get what you pay for. So obviously, the more expensive harps are generally going to be better than the cheaper harps. But it really, at the end of the day, past a certain point, it just comes down to personal preference. So that's my 2 cents on that. Hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.